Shadow and Bone, Leigh Bardugo, and the following 15, 20, 30 minutes are going to be a rant. Let's start with a truth bomb, shall we? Might as well. Can I be honest with you guys? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I did not like the start of this novel. I fully bought this book with no expectations, you guys, and yet I was somehow disappointed. I kind of expected to be rather ambivalent about the whole thing, you know, kind of just meh, but I ended up actively disliking the start of the story. It did get better as I went on, definitely did improve, but I don't know, the first 1 or 2 chapters were just they felt very disjointed to me, which was very off-putting. But then on the other hand, I know full well that when you first start writing, it can take a while to settle down and actually get into things, especially if it's a fantasy novel, considering they've got entire new worlds, people, cultures, religions, rules, everything. But then on the other hand, that's what 2nd, 3rd and 40th drafts are for. You learn to bring these things together, and for me, the first maybe half a dozen chapters, they just weren't together. So, awkward beginnings aside, we need to talk about the stereotypes, okay? Like, even the main character, Alina, yes, she is commendable in so many ways, and like her moral compass is as steady as a rock, you guys. But she's also the stereotypical, plain, boring, ordinary teenager / young adult suddenly realizes they have magical powers in the most dramatic way possible. Why? Why doesn't anyone just wake up in the morning and, I don't know, just open their blinds, look out, and suddenly realize their hands are on fire? Why is there no casual, everyday reveals? Why does it have to be dramatic? Why does there have to be this huge explosion that everyone sees and the word spreads faster than any other word has ever spread in the history of words? Anyway, so dramatic reveal, this previously powerless child is now suddenly the most powerful person ever. But I gotta admit that the whole cliché scene where the powers are revealed, she's brought to the powerful person who used to be the powerful person ever, the Darkling. The Darkling made this cliché 10 times better. It made it so much better. Okay? Like, I have to admit that I'm not too proud, okay? I am not too proud to tell you guys that part of the Darkling's attraction for me is his, you know, attraction. I was picturing kind of this young, anti-hero, Tom Riddle-esque type of model-like being. And you gotta admit, his physical appearance makes him more likable. Every week I sit like this and every week I regret it. Where were we? Oh yes, the Darkling's appearance. Mr. Tall, Dark and Handsome, fitted to a T. Part of the reason his appearance is good, understatement of the year, is he wears black robes. And then Alina just doesn't. Like, she actively refuses to wear the black robes. I mean, yeah, sure, she wants to avoid even more tension than she's already getting because she is the stereotypical humble, plain, orphaned village girl. But oh my gosh, why would you refuse to wear black, okay? It is the best colour ever, if you cannot tell from my current outfit. I'll stop wearing black when they make a darker colour. Why? Why did she not wear the black robes? I mean, the power, the respect she would have gained, all the heartbreak she would have saved if she had just worn the black robes. Okay, I feel like this is as good a place as any to warn you guys that my notes about this book are as disjointed as the first few chapters of this book. So let's talk about Zoya. So Zoya I hope I'm, you know what? No, I'm not hoping I'm pronouncing her name right, because she was unnecessarily cruel to both Alina, but also to a lot of the other so-called lower levels of Grisha. And yeah, some of that I understand. It probably comes from insecurity. She wants to be the Darkling's right-hand woman. She wants to be a lot more than that to him. And suddenly here comes this humble, plain, orphaned village girl, and Alina threatens all of that. And it's a place that Zoya has worked hard to get to. So yes, I understand where she is coming from. She doesn't have to be so mean about it. And, I mean, yeah, I 100% took pleasure from the fact she got her ass handed to her by Alina. But the fact that Alina had never properly fought before, and she has said herself countless times throughout this entire novel how terrible she is at fighting, and how she could never fight, and how Mal was the good fighter, she wasn't good at anything, oh no, poor me, humble village girl cries. So if she's so shit at fighting, and Zoya is described as being the best fighter, and she's like the best fighter that has ever gone through that insane taekwondo dude's training regime, she's like the only person he likes because that's how good of a fighter she is. And then Alina just, you know, beats her. Yeah, Zoya had it coming, but where's the reality? She says about a fantasy novel set in a make-believe world, people can shoot sunlight from their fingers. Moving on, Badga, you know, your stereotypical wizardly old mentor who lives in a shed. So, Badga being revealed as the Darkling's mother was not as surprising as it was probably meant to be, okay? It's, there's so many stereotypes in this novel, you start expecting more stereotypes. And when something conveniently happens, when there's like this so-called subtle mention to something that may or may not be true, it usually is. If you think, there's no way this could happen, it's too cliche, you're wrong, it happened. So Badga being the Darkling's mother, not surprising. Him turning out to be even more like Tom Riddle becoming Voldemort, also not surprising. I mean, that wasn't revealed until about 60% into the novel, and until that was revealed, there were no villains. So it was about damn time we got our bad guy, and the literal personification of darkness. If you didn't see that coming, I feel like it should be shame on you. Okay? The literal personification of everything that is dark and evil. Suddenly, oh no, surprise, he's dark and evil. No, I saw that coming. Didn't mean I liked it. I'm actually super annoyed that he ended up being the bad guy, because, I mean, him and Alina would have been the ultimate power couple. They would have been the ultimate power couple in every sense of the word, pun fully intended. They are literally perfect opposites, okay? You've got light and dark, you've got the sun, you've got the moon, and my naive, innocent self was picturing them ending up together and running off into the sunset and or sunrise as a sort of Hades and Persephone type-esque relationship, you know? I was squealing in anticipation. And then that theory got flung out a 12-story window because, oh yeah, the Darkling is more of a bad guy than he is a bad boy. Cries. Do you hear that? It's time for Unpopular Opinion of the Month. I don't really care about Mal. And before I start hearing sirens in the far distance, let me explain. On one hand, I fully recognize that he is a good dude. He is brave and he is caring and he's willing to sacrifice himself for the person he loves, which I never really understood, but that's an entirely other different discussion. And then on the other hand, it's like, this dude was only here for about a third of the book, okay? He was likable at the start, I will give him that. When Mal was first introduced, which I think was actually literally on the first page. Anyway, when we first met Mal, he was a likable dude. He was cool, you know? He was caring, he was funny. They were best friends. You know, boy next door shit. So I liked him, and that was fine. But then he changed, and the war changed him, which, you know, fair, considering he saw his two best friends get murdered in front of his eyes. But we never actually got to see that change. So personally, I just find it really hard to like him, because, I mean, we didn't see that change. The guy we saw at the start of the novel and the guy we saw at the end of the novel are like two completely different people. And because we didn't see that development throughout, it's kind of like, why bother, you know? You probably don't. I have a feeling this fandom is going to be very, very quickly divided into Mal and Alina and the Darkling and Alina. You can probably already tell who I'm going to go for, and I have a feeling I might be in the minority. So, personally, I just felt it hard to kind of even care about Mal, considering I hardly saw him. He became an entirely different dude off screen. I didn't get to see that development, okay? I'm sure in future books in this series, I will grow to love him, but as it stands, I don't care about him. Also, him finding Alina was so freaking predictable. Oh my gosh, talk about a cliche, okay? Some cliches can be forgiven. I'll give you that. Some of them, you know, you let it slide. But Mal finding Alina, magically appearing on the Kretsch team in the exact town that Alina gets found out, despite the fact Mal had been sent in a completely different direction trying to hunt down the stag that would make Alina's collar. Which, by the way, side note, there is an actual scene where Alina has escaped the palace. She's escaped the Darkling. She's sleeping in the hayloft of this kind of rural, semi-abandoned farm that she conveniently found at the exactly right time. And she goes through the motions. There's shock, there's disbelief, there's, oh my god, what the fuck just happened? But then, after that, after she uses an entire paragraph to more or less say, what the fuck, he's a murderer now? She proceeds to think, oh, but he's so cute though. To be fair, she immediately follows that with, wait, no, what am I saying? He's still a murderer. But like, hey, so I just escaped this guy who would have totally physically and mentally trapped me in an abusive relationship for the rest of eternity while he forced me to murder the creatures who had once been human just so he could go on to murder a couple of more. But you know, aside from that, he's pretty attractive, right? Girl, shut up. No, it does not matter. I do not care how cute he is. He is a manipulative, abusive, homicidal maniac, and his physical attractiveness, however physically attractive he may be, does not justify that. So long story short, I am super glad that Alina talked herself out of that and realised that, you know, all his boyish smiles and kind words had been a fucking lie. But she shouldn't have tried to justify that in the first place. Where were we? Mal. Circling back to Mal. I warned you guys. Circling back to Mal, of course, Mal saves her, and they admit their feelings to one another, and they'll die together before being separated, and they kiss in the glade, and White Stag appears, and, you know, he's the physical symbol of their love and purity and devotion to one another. Bleh. Despite all that, despite all those cliches, it kind of works. I don't think I've ever been happier while reading such predictable, stereotypical bullshit before. Because they are kind of cute together. And, you know, can't be heartless all my life. So I will give them that. I will let them have that obnoxiously predictable scene because they deserve to be happy. Sometime in the future, when this whole fold business is solved. Circling back to that glade. Circling, get it, because really glade. Circling meadow, no, no, okay, you're a tough crowd. Anyway, circling back to that glade, grand reveal. They confess their love, they kiss, and then suddenly, oh no, the bad guys appear. What I want to know is how the Darkling and Ivan and the rest of the soldiers and the Grisha just waited there. They guys, you need to understand, they just waited there, okay? The Darkling, you know, the Darkling, and Ivan, and the soldiers, and the Grisha, just stood behind the trees while those two idiots made out right in front of them. Like, I am 99.999% sure that Ivan was hovering there, waiting to rush in, and the fact that he didn't kind of leads me to believe that the Darkling himself stood there, hidden in the shadows, and just, like, held up a hand or something. But sir, wouldn't it be better to attack them now while they're unaware? Not yet, Ivan. You must have patience. Also, it'll be more dramatic this way. But sir, Ivan, I am the literal embodiment of darkness. I must have my drama. Anyway, I don't know what that anyway was for. What was that anyway for? What was I even talking about?
The glade, circling, the pun, the darkness, drama, awkward standing, Ivan, darkness. Ivan.
On the run. You know, they escape. Because love prevails over everything. They escape. And of course, considering Mal is the lesser known of them, he goes off to get them food and clothes and, you know, the stuff they need to be on the run successfully. But they bought and traded for new clothes like half a dozen times? And you're telling me, you are telling me that these clothes just fitted? I mean, like, yeah, okay, there was one very brief mention of Mal's trousers being like an inch too short, but that was it. And part of being the stereotypical, humble, plain orphaned village girl is that she can't be classically pretty. So throughout the novel, she is referenced so many times as being awkward and tall and gangly and as unstereotypically female-like as you could look. And the clothes just fit her? They just fucking fit? Like, for once I want to see a fantasy novel, or any novel at all, where the main character steals something to wear, try it on, and then they immediately realize, no, my own burp-soaking, ripped-up fucking clothes are actually the better choice. But I digress. You wish. Speaking of Mal and the Darkling, which we weren't speaking of, let's pretend we were speaking of it so I can do this segue. This so-called love triangle, it pissed me off. Like, you cannot, by definition, have a love triangle without at least one LGBT plus character, okay? And guess what? This novel has absolutely zero! This whole thing, this disaster clusterfuck between Mal, the Darkling, and Alina, that isn't a love triangle, okay? That is a love corner. And, as usual, it is the woman who's backed into it. So how is that for smashing down an unhealthy young adult trope? I have yet to read a single novel that actually has a love triangle, okay? Twilight, girls backed into a corner. Hunger Games, girls backed into a corner. Vampire Diaries, girl, corner. And by the way, it is not just young adult fiction either, okay? Nearly every single other book genre is guilty of this, alright? Like, you've got
Great Gatsby, Princess Bride, Pride and Prejudice, Wuthering Heights, Jane Eyre, Gone with the Wind, The Selection, Clockwork Angel, Delirium, Bird Queen, To All the Boys I Loved Before.
love triangles need queer characters. That alone, that very obvious omission by the author, that is a big enough thing to talk about, okay? Like, the fact that it's the woman always backed into a corner, that's a fucking disaster. But the fact that even if it is still the woman backed into the corner, neither of these two guys, also it's always two guys, why is it never a guy and a girl or two girls? Anyway, neither of these two guys are queer. They're just, you know, guys. Just biologically male, cishet, straight, white guys. Purposely leaving out a queer character just because you can, or because you don't want to, fuck you, okay? Like, some stories I understand. It's not possible. Most of the classics, for example, were written at a time when anything other than straight would get you arrested or killed. Not that it stopped my main boy wild, of course. But, you know, fair enough. Today's a different story. There are authors out there who are very, 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 shall we say, selective about whom their characters can, will, cannot, will not love. It's just so annoying. They write a story where an LGBT plus character would not only fit into the damn story, but it would improve the story. It would actually improve the story tenfold. So many more people want to read it because there's this amazing new thing the kids are doing called representation. And these authors have that choice, and instead they just think, nah, let's back this woman into a corner and call it a love triangle. That's not a fucking triangle. Go back to school. You don't know what shapes are. A fucking toddler has more of a grasp of what a love triangle is than you. And okay, to be fair, this triangle that was in this book, in Shadow and Bone, kind of resolved pretty damn fast, considering the Darkling turned out to be a homicidal maniac. But, despite the fact he is a homicidal maniac, and he turned out a lot more like Tom Riddle than I'd initially expected, there's still that ridiculous paragraph where Alina is like, oh, but he's so cute though. Girl, get a fucking grip, okay? Like, the love corner is resolved pretty fucking quick at the end of this book, and for all intents and purposes, Alina has chosen Mal, you know, the only sane one. And then, the ending. Oh my gosh. I mean, I had such a innocent and naive outlook when it came to the endings of stories, in that I fully believed, you know, they ended. And then I had the fortune of reading The Knife of Letting Go by Patrick Ness, and, you know, I had to adjust fairly fucking quick to the fact that some authors use chapter endings and cliffhangers for the ending of their entire fucking novels. And I learned that the hard way. And then this book reinforced that painful lesson. But going back to the content of the ending itself, this whole the boy and the girl thing at the end, why did they not just use Mel and Alina, considering that even an illiterate blind pig who doesn't speak English could tell you it was Mel and Alina? I mean, I can only guess it's some sort of metaphorical, symbolistic, allegorical way of showing how they're no longer the people they used to be, and they've grown and they've developed and they've been changed by the people and events and forces surrounded them. But still, kind of weird. The boy and the girl. I mean, it gives them an almost innocent type of, you know, fucking symbol or whatever. The fact that they're no longer man and woman, that they are boy and girl, that they've resorted to their childhood selves, which, I mean, in one case they have, considering it's them against the world, which is what they were when they were those two little running around orphans. But, you know, people have died. So, since we have come to the end of the book, I shall bring you to the end of this book rant, which I'm sure you're all grateful for. Shadow and Bone, Leigh Bardugo, gets 3 out of 5 stars from me. Full disclaimer, I had originally given it 4 out of 5 stars. But then when I was actually making notes and going through it, I realized just how much the stereotypes annoyed me. So I dropped it. I dropped it to 3 out of 5. You know, tell me your thoughts about this. You guys, I know a lot of people have loved this. I also know a lot of people have hated it. So let's get a conversation going. Let me know your thoughts about this book in the comments below. Let me know if there are any other books you'd like me to read or review or to say hi. Hi. Let's talk. And on that note, I shall release you back into the ether. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, all that jazz. Go check out my other videos, go check out my channel, go check out life. Do something fun today. Do something fun for me today. And then tell me about it.